Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And with this one, I wanted to bring you my 9.2 PvP tier list for the healers in the 3v3 bracket. So which ones are the most powerful, which ones are the most versatile, which are the ones you should be playing or looking to find from LFG to have the most success on the ladder. And there has been a lot that has changed with these classes from PTR to now the current release and iteration of the game, and changes that continuously happen that keeps kind of altering which ones are going to be at the top of the power rankings. So if you want to make sure that you're staying ahead of the curve in terms of the competition with regards to everything World of Warcraft, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I do bring those patch notes and changes to you here on the channel in real time, so that you don't have to go sifting through the internet to find the details of, oh, that's why my specialization is no longer desirable. You can just find it here by hitting the bell, and it'll be notified to you in a nice little video format. So let's just get started without further ado. The first healer on the list here is the Discipline Priest. Discipline Priest has been probably my most fun healer for the entire expansion. I think that still does remain the case for it. However, it is struggling at the moment, mostly because of its shared specialization, Holy, doing so phenomenally well. I pretty much only see Discipline Priest running with Feral and Hunter as a 3v3 composition, and even in that realm, Holy Priest I would say is debatably better in a lot of situations, and this is mostly because it doesn't bring in a ranged stun for instant crowd control. Its damage is now lower than Holy Priest. That was one of the main edges that Discipline had throughout the rest of this expansion, was that its damage was higher than Holy, but Holy has received buff after buff after buff, where it's now doing more damage than Disc, probably more damage than some DPS specs in all regards. And its defensive cooldowns are not always a guarantee to help you survive through these massive critical strikes that are available right now in patch 9.2. Whereas as Holy, you can deny all damage with Greater Fey, deny all damage with Ray of Hope, and things like this. The Discipline Priest pretty much has Powered Barrier, which can be knocked out of, and even that against some damage it probably can be out DPS'd. The other advantage you had was Night Fae mana return from the Fae Guardians. This was reduced dramatically, so your mana's not as unlimited as it was in the previous patch. So you're gonna be limited on mana. You have like an all right in terms of versatility, in terms of like you can play with some specs, but you're really not going to perform the best because your damage is lower, your healing is lower, and your cooldown trading is inferior to the burst damage and options other healers have at the moment. And I think that has dropped Holy down by a bit here. I don't think it's the worst healer. I'm probably going to be throwing it up into the B. I might be a little bit harsh on the healers in this tier just to try and identify the differences between them, because I think there's a significant difference between the healers at the moment. So Discipline Priest is a solid healer, still the most fun. It's just that you don't really have your niche anymore. You're not the highest damage healer. Your cooldowns don't trade well, and we covered all of that. Now for the Holy Paladin loves this patch. Holy Paladin went from the worst healer to maybe arguably the best. I know, Holy Priest, if it wasn't there. If it weren't for the meddling Holy Priest, you would be the best Holy spec. But Holy Paladin is definitely in a great position. You do a lot of damage. You have great mana return now because of the Necrolord Covenant, giving you so much healing that is free. When you use Word of Glory after Vanquisher's Hammer, you cast Light of Dawn, which is able to top your entire team for a spell that doesn't cost any mana. So you're able to just hold on to your mana for a long time, which was the main problem for Paladin. That was the main thing preventing it from being the best healer. And now it does have good mana, although it does struggle still with specific things. Like I see Demon Hunter teams on the ladder being a struggle for Holy Paladin. It has its weaknesses. So I wouldn't say that it's like the ultimate healer. It's decently flexible. I've played one myself. Like I feel like you can play with most combinations of classes because your mana is better than Disc, your damage is better than Disc. I think you are better than Disc, but I don't think that you're absolute kind of God mode in terms of this, which is why I wanted to leave like a clear distinction between the brackets of the healers. It's very close to being an S tier. I think one of the main reasons that it doesn't is because of its limitations. To get crowd control, it has to compromise its positioning, and it's going to be limited in its mobility. Whereas when you look at things like the Holy Priest, it's got a lot of ranged crowd control, and that's most importantly coming from the Chastise and also its damage. Holy Fire, Mind Games, these types of spells are hitting very hard, like enough to just push you over the edge during a stun. And by having that ranged crowd control enables you to be the best healer in things like Rogue Mage or even Jungle. And you're also flexible into the spell cleaves, like we've seen in competitive play. Holy Priest can play with everything. The one weakness was kind of being attacked and trained down and killed, but even that I think has been walked away a little bit in terms of weaknesses. A lot of priests are just picking up the Resurrection Legendary and you're able to wear that when you think that you're going to be a target. And a lot of teams, if they've all in their resources to you and that's all they got, then they're going to be left on the back foot, and your team can do pretty much whatever they want to end the game. So your damage is absolutely maximum, out of this world. You're the most flexible and versatile healer that can play with pretty much anything. Mana is solid, maybe not the best. I think that would still probably be held to Mistweaver or maybe Restoration Shaman, but it's good enough that you can get into long enough of games and still be able to win without it really being a problem, it seems like. Its healing output is great. Like, you were the highest healing output basically of any spec, especially with the 4-set bonuses. So I think it would be kind of a hard sell to not say that this is the best healer in the game, just based off of representation and these facts. Its cooldowns trade perfectly with how the burst damage is. Guardian Spirit can stop a massive amount of cooldowns swelling together. Ray of Hope can also stop and pause the damage to give you time to react to that massive swell of damage that's currently available from cooldowns. And then the Resurrection Legendary, the Greater Fade to immune goes, right? Because it's a very go-based meta. You have all these answers that are just like an immediate stop to all burst damage, which is why you're fitting really well into the meta, and you have so much damage that you didn't have before. And the mana of other healers has honestly gone down that would have competed with you in other regards. So you're going to be in a great position. You also have spammable CC with mind control, so you have ways to fight around the Echoing Resolve trinket that other healers might not be able to, and that is something that does hold some of the other healers back. Something like Mistweaver, the Echoing Resolve can actually be very difficult to deal with, because if you in-cap a target with it, then they're immune to your leg sweep, and that can be very difficult. You're not a Windwalker who can just root off the Echoing Resolve effect, and that's going to help really hinder you. Mistweaver's throughput is the highest in the game. Your consistent throughput is very high. The problem is that throughput doesn't really matter when you're in a stun and your partner dies in 1 second. While you could have saved them if you weren't stunned for 1 second, you are stunned for 1 second and the game is already over. You have decent trades with things like Life Cocoon and Revival, but they are in much longer cooldowns than that of the Holy Priest with Ray of Hope and Guardian Spirit on 1-minute cooldowns. You're looking above that. So your range of trading ends up not hitting the right frequency, and you'll end up hitting points where, oh, I don't have anything to trade. But its throughput is definitely something that's going to be remarkable and allow you to just spam your way through games. I do hope again in the future that Mistweaver gets a bit of an overhaul. I think that the specialization is kind of just underdeveloped at the moment, and I would like to get the same type of treatment that we saw things like Shadow Priest get at the beginning of Shadowlands for the next expansion, or as soon as possible. But at the moment, I think it's pretty mid. It's a decently flexible healer. You're able to run melee cleaves. You're able to run the double casters. Not really the best with kind of rogue mage, and other healers are probably better with like warrior mage and things like that. But it's decently flexible, good throughput. Like, it's a functional healer, but I wouldn't say that it slots perfectly into the meta at the moment, and you pretty much have no damage. Maybe the fact that you have no damage should actually bring it down by a little bit. Nah, I feel like the strength of its output and its mana can compensate for that. But now onto Resto Druid. This healer, I think, was predicted to be the best healer. I did as well, predict it to be the best healer. But then after the patch came out, and again, with all those updates, make sure you hit the subscribe button, it really fell off, its overall healing output. And its main problem is that it can't answer these massive swells of damage. You might pre-Iron Bark somebody at 100% health. They're gone in a millisecond through that. It's not a Guardian Spirit. It's not a Ray of Hope. It's not an Ultimate Sacrifice. It's not a Power Barrier that's kind of negating that hit with an immunity almost. It's just the defense of those cooldowns is not potent enough to stop the swells of burst damage that are currently available in the patch, and it can be overwhelmed. It's still a very good healer in terms of output. I would say that it's probably behind Holy Paladin by like a slight margin. Still a great mage lock healer, really flexible in that regard. Versatile healer, does have the options to be able to add damage to the team, but you may struggle a bit with it. Its mana is still great because of its options to be able to sit down and drink. Its set bonuses are definitely a benefit compared to some healers. Like Mistweaver really didn't get any benefit from their set bonuses whatsoever, unfortunately. And Disc Priest actually got its set bonuses nerfed prior to releasing. It had some really fun builds with the machine gun penance, which were holding it back. So I think for Resto Druid, it's probably close. I almost want to like shove everything down it's here, but I feel like these are like, this is kind of the line where I would say you can get pretty much every achievement in the game as this spec. You'd be able to get rank 1 on the ladder, but it would be more of a struggle than these. Maybe we just say the baseline for that is here, and then this means you're unviable, because I really want to shift this down, put Resto Druid on B, these guys on C, but maybe I feel like they are closer. Holy Priest is definitely a cut above, though. It's good throughput, good survivability, good kind of first time healer if you want to pick it up. It's going to be versatile and flexible, get the job done. But in terms of your output, your synergies with the burst meta, you're definitely going to be lacking, I think, behind Holy Priest as well as Holy Paladin. Now that Holy Paladin doesn't have the mana problem, that's why it's coming to the left of Holy Paladin on the A tier. They're on the same tier, but it's the weaker option of the two on that tier. And then finally, Restoration Shaman. This healer suffers the most from the Echoing Resolve trinket. You pretty much have to unkeybind your wind shear against these types of spellcasters, which really hurts you because Resto Shaman doesn't have high throughput. It's basically the antithesis of Mistweaver Monk. You will struggle to be able to heal through damage if you're forced to sit there and power heal. So the advantage of the Shaman is disruption. It's through interrupting and grounding effects and kind of preventing the damage before it happens. But this Echoing Resolve trinket on casters is immuning that mechanic of the spec, so all that you're highlighting is its inferior ability to heal throughput damage, which you can't, and it'll just struggle and fall behind. Things like Earthen Wall Totem, not really going to provide you too much benefit if you're getting crit for 50k. And it can be a really big struggle now at the moment. You do still have decent compositions with melee cleaves and running like Earthquake Elemental and tossing that out and doing as much damage. I'd say that because of the strengths and weaknesses of if the Echoing Resolve trinket didn't exist, actually I think Shaman would be a really good healer, probably in the A tier. But there's so many specs like Mage and Lock that you see every game running it that just completely counter your class now, and I've seen so many shamans re-rolling from shaman to holy priest as a result that it's tough for me to put it on a very high tier at the moment. I think it's struggling. The set bonuses, it's all right. You get like a free chain heal when you drop a totem, but unfortunately you can't control where it goes, so it might not be healing the target that you need it to heal at a specific time. So its set bonuses like the Mistweaver can kind of feel inferior. I don't know if I want to say it's better or worse than Mistweaver. I feel like it's probably still better than Mistweaver just because it has a higher skill potential in terms of abilities. You have the ability to root targets, hex targets, purge targets, blast out damage with lava burst pressure. Because of that offensive utility, I think you can have more skill ceiling to do things with it, to push higher. And the strengths and weaknesses are kind of the opposites, but they both have very staggering strengths and weaknesses. And for Shaman, it's mostly due to that Echoing Resolve trinket. If that wasn't there, I think Shamans could definitely keep this mage meta kind of more in check. But that trinket is letting those casters really run rampant and really holding back Shaman right now. And this is kind of my current assessment of the specializations. I'd say Disc is pretty close to coming into A, but its mana and its limitations in that regard when it falls behind is pretty tough. Resto Druid, they're pretty close at the moment, but Holy Priest definitely staggeringly high above everything else, even after the recent nerfs to its set bonuses. Holy Paladin just in a really good position right now. So if you're looking to pick up a healer, you're not going to go wrong with, I think, with a Holy Priest or a Holy Paladin. Although Holy Paladin and Priest are dependent on their set bonuses. If you don't have that after making a character, you will struggle. But once you get those, you're going to be in a really good position. And that's pretty much it. I think that you can do well on all the specializations, but if you're looking for an easy ride, Holy Priest is going to be your best bet at the moment. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. If you'd like to follow along live, twitch.tv/Supatease. I do stream there as much as I can, and I'm currently doing a 2400 challenge, which is to get 2400 arena rating and 3v3 on every class. I've completed Warlock and Druid so far, so if you'd like to join in on that journey, then make sure to head over there as well. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will catch you in the next one.